Hello, I'm Stefan Thompson. I'm a painter and a sculptor. I was born in Ottawa, in Chinatown, in 1980. I suppose this all started around the age of 3 with my mom being an artist and lots of family artists. And I decided I wanted to do visual art around that age. Yeah, since a young age I felt very connected to nature and was building forts when I was a kid. And it was, yeah, the most wonderful times of my life. Like I remember just being in the forest at a young age, so there was a connection I remember always. We've started to really disrespect Mother Nature with our current consumer ways. It just doesn't make sense that a society doesn't know where to get food and water and how to make its things. But there's something great about just being comfortable in nature and learning where everything comes from and learning how to do that for yourself. Yeah, that brings me a lot of peace. Well, I went to high school for music, and there I had experience with a lot of people doing art because it was an art school. So I would often bring my book to school and share with the visual artists, but I didn't formally study art at all. Then I started to notice graffiti in Ottawa, and that was very exciting for me. It was so out of the box and so wild, and I started to also do graffiti around that time and get involved with that scene, which I found fascinating. So that's when I started to do it a lot. Yeah, I went to university and I studied environmental science. I remember applying for a summer job, and it was also in science, and I thought, well, I can't do this, I need a break. So it was a real incentive for me to find a way to live through art at that time. Nowadays I would describe myself as an abstract painter, even though that's kind of funny. I like the idea. Even though what I do is illustrative, I'm always interested in line quality and shapes and randomness. And I feel like that's a really important part of my work, just sort of free-flowing, random expression. I'm inspired by animals. Obviously, you can see most of my work includes animals. But when I first started, I was really into dinosaurs. And then I moved into birds, and then I moved into mammals, and now I'm even doing humans. So in some way it feels like this interesting exploration. I've gone from reptile to human eventually, and everything in between. I used to play games with my mom where we would look at the clouds, like I think most kids do, You look up in the sky and you see faces. So at a young age I was doing that all the time. So I think that's where a lot of it comes from. I tend to be inspired by just random shapes. I'll just go out for a walk in the woods and I'll look up in a tree and I see the faces. The faces that I draw are the faces that I see everywhere all the time. So I think that's, a reflection of my consciousness or subconsciousness. They tend to be animals, but I feel that at least I understand the emotions that they're expressing. So I would imagine some people see it as well, although again, it's your own reflection is going to be in there. But I think I'm working with human emotions and animal subjects because we all come from animistic cultures ultimately. When I first started doing artwork and when I was doing graffiti, I had no clue that there was such thing as toxicity in art supplies, really, for the most part. So I became more and more aware over the course of university that everything I was using tended to be toxic, and to what degree. And one day I actually took all my paints to the toxic waste facility when they had a toxic waste recycling day. Yeah, 2007 I became what I would consider completely non-toxic based on my education and my research. As far as pigments, I'm using things that I collect now exclusively, so they may be stones. This is like a iron oxide from rusted objects. This is charcoal. I have a very limited palette. I have sort of oranges and yellows and reds and browns and blacks and grays. And for the ceramic itself, now I'm using more this kind of clay, and this is local clay. I like to collect it from very pure sources, so this came from a riverbank. I don't buy anything, so this is an old paintbrush I've had for who knows how many years, and I haven't bought paintbrushes in at least 3 years, maybe more. It's really affecting how I work, so eventually, this is just a prototype, I'm going to be making my own paintbrushes with local materials. This is a squirrel tail. But because my brushes are getting less and less precise and more broken down, that's why I'm using like the technique which is more like scratching. The more I restrict myself, the more creative I am to come up with solutions. So I would never be doing this if I hadn't decided that I wasn't going to buy brushes anymore. I mean, it's exciting to try to just make a living without having to purchase anything and just work with what you have. I feel like I'm always getting more and more extreme with my methods, but I feel very comfortable with where I am now. The impact I'm making now is extremely small compared to going and buying commercial art supplies from the store. Certainly my philosophy of painting, it transfers to every facet of my life. I used a recycled sole from my old overboots, and then I make like a felt bootie. Well, this I had made before. So that keeps you warm, and then this keeps you waterproof. I'm making my own clothes, and I'm being rigorous as I can with toxicity as well. They're non-toxic, and then also I'm trying to find local materials. So I'm getting wool from local farmers. People are always bringing me stuff, or there's skins from butcheries that are almost a waste product. So I'm able to make like really comfortable local clothing that has like almost no ecological footprint because it's mostly waste products. Again, the philosophy goes into like what I would live in. I'm very interested in building homes that are also local. So what I'm really interested in is building a house that, you know, you could walk to collect everything you need to build it with. And that certainly was done in the past and can still be done today. As far as shapes, I mean, I think I'm working with just whatever's easiest and most practical, like the arch, you know, circles and domes. They've been used in all cultures all over the world for a long time because they work. They shed water, they're structurally strong. The houses I build, like, take so much time. I mean, I'd say my job is a painter or illustrator or sculptor, but really I spend most of my time doing everything else. So I tend to use the word shaper recently to describe what I do rather than calling myself an artist, because I don't know, I don't feel like I can call myself an artist. My to-do list is so long that I'll never get close to it, you know. I'm just constantly coming up with new ideas of what I could do, and I realize I'll do like 1% of ultimately what I'm thinking of. I'm very interested in just remembering how to make things in a sustainable way, in a local way, and living with less. Sometimes people call it survival skills, but it gives me a lot of sense of security and stability in life. I think if I had somebody around my neighborhood who built these houses out of natural materials or made his own clothes, or I would have been doing that when I was 12 years old, and I probably would have never gone to university because I would have figured out what I was really passionate about at a young age. Everything in our modern world is very disconnected and very easy to acquire. People don't imagine where things come from, and most things that we do use also have sort of like a swath of devastation in their wake, you know. You could say like the world's gonna go this way or that way, but you have the choice to live your life the way you want to live it. And to me, it's like what matters is that there's people around that care about the earth. And I think it's a miracle when somebody cares for another person or cares for the earth, you know. I think that's so beautiful, and everyone has the opportunity to do that.